Suzanne Vertinen from DiscoverChange, and I'm here with Suman Manghra. Hi, Suman.
Hiya.
Great to have you here today in Leading Conversations. Thank you so much for taking part. I'm so excited to have you here today to talk about how to manifest your desires. I mean, hugely important subject today. So Suman here is from Manifestation Maven, and she'll be sharing a little bit about her background, what you actually do. You are coming from the angle of mindset and empowerment, and you have huge skill sets, NLP, hypnotherapy, so many amazing
to name a few.
Absolutely. And I'm really excited to hear from you, who you are, what you do, why you started your business, and also sharing a few tools and strategies today on how to really help someone and other people, especially entrepreneurs, people, and anyone really, but someone who wants to take the next level in their life, to share these tools and techniques with them. So Suman, thank you so much for taking part in Leading Conversations. Now, just to get started first, you just want to give a bit of an overview of what is it that you do and what is your background in all of this?
Absolutely. So first of all, thank you so much for having me today. Such a pleasure to be here, such a privilege. So a bit about myself. So I guess my journey started from when I was doing my studies. I ended up falling into doing psychology. Originally had planned to go in these different routes. Always used to love enjoying learning about everything. And psychology was just an extra subject I took up for some extra points in college. And then at university stage, I was like, actually, I want to do this. I want to learn this more. I'm fascinated about the human mind and human behavior and how we think and what triggers us, what encourages us, motivates us. So went on to do a degree, and then after that I still didn't know what I was doing with myself, like most of us are in that place in our lives sometimes. And I was just like, and I just went on to do further studies thinking, okay, I'll just learn a bit more, maybe I need to learn a bit more. And I went on to do masters in work psychology and business. So when I did that, there was actually a coach that came to one of the seminars. It's one of my biggest takeaways from doing the course. This person was a coach, and I was like, what's a coach? And he started talking about these different models, and he talked about a grow model and talked about goal setting, and and I was quite intrigued by it. I was like, this is really interesting. So when I left that, even though I did all these like ad hoc jobs and I was trying to get into like becoming an occupational psychologist at the time, there's something in my mind that just kept triggering around this life coaching and this coaching. And so I went and took up a life coaching certification, and that was about 12 years ago now. So that was where my journey first started. And when I met my life coach, at the time I was doing the certification, they basically say, well, when you do coaching, you need to have a coach. It's advised to have a coach. So by chance, a friend of a friend was doing the same course as me. She's like, I'm doing that program as well. I was like, oh, what a small world. And then she advised me about watching The Secret and reading the book The Secret. And I was like, what is this secret? And that is, of course, if anybody hasn't heard of The Secret, it's all about the law of attraction. And that's when the law of attraction first came in my life, around the time when I was exploring my career opportunities and possibility of working for myself and what I wanted to do. So from that point, I just utilized law of attraction in different ways in my life and found and experimented with it. And then I've just grown since then to attract different random things in my life. Some things worked well, some things didn't. Had a lot of life experience there, I can tell you. The good, the bad, and the ugly type thing. But yeah, as I went on my journey, then in the last 3 years, I just honed a few more skills. I wanted to refresh my coaching skills. And I went down the route of doing a full package course around building NLP skills, hypnotherapy, timeline therapy, and a bunch of other things. So that is loosely describing the last 12 years of my life.
That's just amazing, because everything that you've done, and I've seen you talk as well, and you're such a powerful speaker and trainer and coach, but you really know what's going on in people's minds. And I think, everything, like you said, a lot of the time we go to university, I did my management studies, what do you use management studies in? And although it was in hospitality area, but you could use it in so many ways. And actually, we don't always know, we have the interest in the subject. And then through the life, experiences that you've had, you're starting to realize, actually, you can really start to leverage, I use management models, for example, in what I do, and you use all of these psychological models and concepts now in your coaching practice and with your clients, because it really helps people to understand how to move forward in different ways. And because we people try and be logical about things, we like learning models, and now you're really bringing all of that competence into your business practice today, to obviously make sure that you're offering that excellent value. And like I said, I've seen you talk, and you're very powerful, and you're really passionate about, you know, what you do. Can I just ask, why did you, you know, you talked about, okay, really loved learning, developing myself, developing others, interested in the psychology part, but what's the real kind of reason, you know, what's the passion in the background that why you wanted to exactly go into life coaching? Because it's quite tough, actually, life coaching. There's a lot of negativity.
As I went on to learn.
So,
Absolutely,
you know, what was the kind of driver? Was there something that happened in your life, or something that, you know, you saw that really spurred you into this area?
Yes, I feel like there's a number of things. It's always never one thing. It's a number of factors. I think the biggest one for me was in the early days, I always wanted to go down a different career path. And then I had family and parents saying, you know, that's not the right thing to do it this way. And then I was kind of like coaxed into doing something else and trying to fit the mold and make other people happy. So I was in the space that a lot of people fall into, this disease to please, what Oprah calls it. We always want to please others, and especially we don't want to let down our parents. And they were my superheroes for such a long time. And then I just always wanted to do things for them. And then I realized that when I started doing my coaching, and this is where my breakthrough moment was, and this is when I realized how powerful coaching is. My coach said to me, it sounds like you're so guilty to do things for yourself. I was like, I'm not guilty. What would I be guilty for? She's like, I'm sensing guilt. And then I thought about it, and it really sunk in. And I thought, that's so true. Every time I do something for myself, I feel super guilty. Why am I carrying this guilt around? And she broke that myth for me. And she said, and she rebuilt that belief system of mine. She's like, if you do your own thing and you're very successful with it, would your parents be happy? And I was like, absolutely. They'd be over the moon. That's all they want for me. That's all I want for myself. So she's like, so do you need to be guilty about doing things for yourself when you know what you're doing with it? And I was like, no. So that was where I feel like she just unleashed me. And I was just like ready to go. And I started doing this. And I, you know, it kind of like, I think that just started tapping into my potential. The other thing was when I was in loads of different jobs whilst I was in uni and college and stuff, and one of the first jobs that I had, I remember sitting when I was doing my training, and I knew this wasn't going to be my job for life. It was like a part-time job in a call center, and I'm sitting by this one chap, and such a great guy. He was such a lovely chap. And then I was like, so what did you do at uni? What did you do? This? And he was like, oh, I did graphic designing. And I was like, wow, that's awesome. And I was like, how long have you done this job? And he had done it for about 7-8 years or something. And I was like, why did you not do a career in graphic design? And he was just like, well, and it was just interesting to see why people stayed in these kind of jobs for a long period of time with no judgment, but it just made me curious. And especially when you've got a skill set and you've studied in certain areas, I was like, the way you're talking about that, he lit up, and I could tell he's passionate about graphic designing. And I was like, talking about like people's debts on the phones is not graphic designing. You can earn money from graphic designing, so it's not about the money. So I realized there's people have mindset issues that hold them back. And I just thought, I used to look, and this is how I used to work, and I still do it now. I scan the whole office and I'd see, look at all this untapped potential. Look at all this potential that needs to be carved out of these people. There's so much they've got to offer, so much they've got to do. And I just realized the coaching is a way for me to start helping. I mean, I actually went down the route of training in the workplace first of all, but it was a mixture of training and coaching. So one-on-one stuff, group stuff, but whichever way I can get into people and really make them do more with themselves and realize there's more to them. That's where it was for me, I guess.
I love that. I just love that. That's so inspiring, because, and it's so important that you've gone through that experience yourself. And actually the number one thing for manifesting anything is that allow yourself to actually dream of these other things in life, and that it's okay to go ahead with the path that you maybe hadn't carved out yet, but
believe in possibilities.
Absolutely. And having that coach yourself, just like me as well, you know, having the first coach, and it's an uncomfortable experience. You know, you think that they're going to be like, yeah, you're amazing, you can do anything. No, you can't do if you keep limiting yourself with this guilt, self-sabotage, you know.
I remember saying something to my coach at the time, and I said, I just feel like I'm so lazy sometimes. She goes, how are you lazy? She goes, you're doing 2 jobs at the moment. You're working 7 days a week, plus you're doing your coaching course, plus you're taking coaching sessions with me. She goes, does a lazy person do all these things? And I was just like, okay, true.
Right.
We
And,
have this self-talk and we talk about ourselves in
that's
this
right.
way.
That's right. And it's that overachiever mentality as well. And I think a lot of people, especially entrepreneurs, I certainly, the
Guilty.
more I do, more and more and more and more. And, actually you realize that there's always more. There's so much more. And I realize this is a tough lesson maybe for some people, that you'll never get on top of it.
I say to all my clients, you're never going to be the finished article. We're working towards becoming the finished article, but rarely anybody really gets there. You don't really
Well,
want to get there, because what else is after that?
Well, exactly. You're absolutely right. Because what needs to happen, and another thing, what you're saying there is enjoying the journey. And actually, we have to find the peace and
Yes,
the fun in the journey rather than
yes,
waiting just for the destination. Because, like you said, your coach recognized that in you, saying, "Wow, you're such a super achiever. You're calling yourself lazy, almost like nothing is ever good enough.
yeah,
Whatever you do, you still got some more, some more, some more. You know, you're working, you want to go on holiday. You're on holiday and all you think about is how you have to work." And it's just really that battle with yourself. And it's
yeah.
great that that coach recognized in you the great potential, but that there was that barrier. Now helping, because coaching is only effective if you're really clear, if your mirror is clear.
Yeah, and also if you're ready to learn, be open-minded, be
Absolutely.
coachable, call it.
Well, exactly. And I mean, I have seen testimonials from people that you have coached, and it's really just inspiring to see that you really know how to break through limitations and challenges and help people to move forward. And so for some it takes longer, for some it takes very little, because it depends how ready they are to move forward, isn't it?
Yeah.
Could you
And
tell me?
everybody's journey is so different. A massive thing I learned in NLP about was everybody has their own model of the world and their map of the world based on their experiences. So totally depends on where they've come from, the kind of upbringing they've had, the kind of friends they've had, the schooling they've had, and the kind of things they've been privy to with regards to what kind of TV they've watched, the kind of books they've read. It all shapes their mind in different ways. And there's no, like, as much as there's a loose structure to how I work, there's no cookie cutter approach because everyone's so individual.
Absolutely. And actually, on that note, what type of, because you obviously do, you mix a lot of different things into sessions, because life coaching obviously it's quite complex. So could you just give a bit of an idea, what do you actually do during the sessions? Or maybe an example of someone that you've worked with, and what was maybe one of their barriers or what they wanted to achieve, and what did you actually do, just to kind of get a clearer idea on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So a loose structure of my program, what I try to stick to, where if the person still needs clarity, I'll go through a bit of a structure with them. So I have 4 sections to my what I call the manifestation matrix. So I take them through a process of getting clarity first. So what is it that you want to manifest, or what is your results or outcomes you want to achieve? However they want to frame it, it's the same thing. And it's getting that, like you said, being crystal clear. That what you said is spot on. Be like a glass, be like a mirror, be crystal clear. What is it you want? Once you're clear on what you want and you got the clarity, the second bit I move on to is clearing work. So this is where my skill set comes in, and I'll use different techniques, but it always depends on the conversations we've had, because I use a lot of intuitive coaching, and a lot of people don't understand what that means. But what that means for me is that whatever my gut instinct comes up with, that this person just mentioned this, something comes in my mind straight away. I'm like, this is what I need to use for this person. And so out of my toolkit of different skills I've built over the years, I'm like, this will work for this person. There has been times on the spot I'll create something for a person, like out of the blue. It's not a technique that I've learned, it's a technique that I've created. And that comes from me. It's not from anything, but it's an amalgamation of everything I've learned has helped me see things in a whole new way and create like another version of something I've learned. So that's always been interesting to do. But yeah, I take them through a clearing process. So what that is getting that alignment, getting rid of those negative emotions, the limiting beliefs, the blockages, where those things are either emotionally attached to them or energetically, whatever it might be, to help clear that away. And once that's clear, then they've got a clear image of what they want. They've got nothing else standing in their way now, emotional blockages or energetic blockages. Then we work on the mindset stuff. So how can we start incorporating, because sometimes we do mindset things when we haven't cleared ourselves, and so you're not getting anywhere, and it's like, why not? So it's like, get clear first. So with a blank slate, we can now do the mindset stuff so it's more effective, and then we start doing the manifestation work. So that's what I loosely do with people. But I have gone on very different journeys depending on what comes up for the person. Because there was one session, for example, and I had already set in my mind, I'm going to do timeline therapy with this person now, and I'm going to remove the 5 major negative emotions around anger, sadness, fear, guilt, and hurt. But at the beginning of the session, she just said, oh, I've had a week that's like this. And I was like, okay, well, I was going to do this with yourself today, but what do you need from me today? So my purpose is always to serve what they need on that day and in that moment, rather than my agenda. It's about their agenda and I have to work around it. So I hope that kind of answers the question.
That's brilliant. I mean, that just shows the commitment, and it's so important to be intuitive with this type of work. And I absolutely love the fact that there are a lot of coaches, but some coaches, trainers, and with the best intentions, but they might have that own agenda and say, hey, this is what you do, and actually tend to, and I've had a few coaches that like, give me a massive to-do list. Yeah, give me a massive to-do list. Okay, go ahead and do this, go away. And then you're kind of, oh my God, I don't know how to get on with this. And actually some coaches even make you feel guilty that you haven't done a few things. Whereas more guilt is never the solution to remove guilt. So when people procrastinate, you talked about procrastination, it's far from being lazy. It's that there are some mental barriers why you're procrastinating. It's that self-talk, and it's great to hear. So you work with people on an individual basis, because everybody is an individual, like you said, and has this world.
And anything can be going on with anybody at any time. Like where I start on my journey with them, like one lady I spoke to yesterday, where she was 3 months ago, she's not there now. So if we keep talking about things in a way that where we were 3 months ago, it's not relevant. So we have to just keeping up with the pace and keeping up with their changing. We all fluid, we all change, we all are adapting and moving around, and with a lot of stuff going on, nothing's ever the same. It's not constant. So it's just keeping aware of that.
Absolutely. So you mentioned that you're working with one lady, and maybe 3 months ago it was a completely different person almost, and you work on transformation. So what would you say is like the journey that they travel? Well, obviously it's a huge journey, and it's very gradual as well. It can be. Sometimes it can be a shocking one and almost overnight. But, in terms of like a couple of months in, is it that, your clients would have built more confidence to take action in certain areas of life, or what areas of life do you focus on? Could it be anything?
Well, loosely speaking, it isn't really anything, but I always try to make it like drill it down into specific areas of people's lives. I mean, the 3 areas we're always mainly concerned with, what we really want to have the best and get the most out of is relationships. We want the most fruitful relationships, whether it's love relationships or with our family or even professional relationships. Moving on to professional, then it's a career. So usually that could be business, it could be just career goals or career change. And then there's also the wealth side of it. So career and business is all leading to our financial health. And then we do have our own personal health as well. So mindset health, physical health. Some people want to might want to delve into spirituality and how can I be more spiritual. So really we can tailor it to any of those, but I always go with the angle of relationships and career first. But I've always found when I start talking to somebody about career, they end up talking to me about relationships. Or when I start talking about relationships, they start talking about career. So everything's interlinked. And sometimes we think we really want a great relationship, but it's like actually what's going on with yourself. And I always say to people, before we delve into relationships with others, the biggest thing what I do with everyone, no matter what area of life you want to work in, get that relationship with yourself first. Sort out that relationship with yourself, and then we can start sorting out those other things.
I love that. That's so crucial. And I think that's such a key part of everything, is that, always expecting, and I was one of those people, many years ago, expecting the environment to change. I mean, I lived in five countries in 5 years. I was addicted to change and starting from the beginning, and don't get me wrong, I still love change, and I thrive under change, but actually
it's better to love change, because change is inevitable.
Absolutely.
But to love it is actually very positive.
Change, and actually I had to look within. And when I got that coach, and I realized that when I change, everything else changes. And that's the most powerful thing, is that, you change and everything else changes, because you change the way that you talk to yourself. And as a result, you change the way you talk to other people and how you build relationships. Career, business success, for example, is 100% all about relationships. So,
Yes.
you know, I love the fact that that is a crucial part of your program. So, I mean, I could just listen to you forever. We're going to talk a little bit more about a few tips in a few moments that
Yeah.
you can give as well to kind of leave with some concrete strategies to start manifesting desires. But before we go there, if you could just share with me, maybe what is it that you actually enjoy most about your work? Because it's so versatile. You do a lot of different things. What is the thing that really brings the most pleasure to you?
I wish it was just one thing. There's so many things that brings a smile on my face. I think especially when I can see somebody's had a breakthrough and I see in their energy they're just a different person, and they tell me about their wins and their successes and the things that they started achieving or manifesting. That just brings a massive smile on my face to know that that change has been able to, I've been able, and I always say, they say, you helped me do this. I'm like, no, you helped yourself do it. I facilitated it. All I do is facilitate it. The change comes from a person. They're all, because I could work with two people around the same stuff, and one person gets massive results and the other person doesn't get as much, and it's the individual's responsibility. So I always reflect it back to that person, that it says a lot about them, and I love encouraging them in that way, because sometimes they will still try and they'll be like, we all do it, we'd be humble and we're like, it's not me, it's you, thank you. But it's like, no, give yourself some credit, give yourself a pat on the back. And I like doing that and letting people see their own light.
Oh, I love that. Well, isn't it that people already have it? They just have suppressed it. They are, in
Yeah.
a way, already enlightened. Everybody is, but actually, the years of conditioning, the years of labeling, and
My
everything.
coaches have to keep reminding me, so I'm still on that journey myself. You know, and it
I
is a
think we all
constant
are.
journey.
Mm-hmm.
It's a constant journey, but the more you visit it, it's about the whole neurology of it. There's this thing called Hebb's law: neurons that fire together wire together. So the more you keep noticing it, realizing it, practicing it, the more that neurology strengthens and it becomes second nature.
That's amazing. And you know this, and help, and because you're giving some people the encouragement, well, you're giving all your clients the encouragement that you didn't necessarily have at certain point, that someone says to you, you know, you can actually do whatever you want, whereas actually we've been told, no, you can't do whatever you want, and stay small, stay little. Why are you ambitious? Why you want to do all these things? And you're thinking, oh my god, what's the matter with me, you know? And actually, this is what a lot of people, they have so much this amazing creativity. And love the fact that you said, you know, you can walk into an office or a big event, and I've seen that in you, and you can just, oh my god, you just love people, bring the best out of them, but
Yeah.
you can see when they're not well, and you know, or that there is something wrong. You're a real empath.
Yeah.
And you
But I
sense.
also feel like my NLP really just supercharged me in that area of my life, because we learned a lot about communication models and different people's communication systems and body language stuff. And it's like, after, like, I think we just intuitively know certain things ourselves without realizing that's what we know. But when you actually break it apart and learn it and you see it then, and you hear people's language patterns, and then now it's like I just detect it, like I'm like a metal detector. I just detected that language pattern. You just said that. They're like, I didn't even know I said that. Is that what I just said? And I'm like, yeah, you just said it that way. Like, I think it was somebody wanted to do, I think she wanted to raise some money for some children's charity or something. She goes, it's so hard. And it's like, why are you saying that it's hard? Because when you're saying it's hard, you're putting it out to the universe to make it difficult. She's like, is that what I said? I said, start saying it's easy. It's easy, or it's less easy. It's
That's,
just so interesting language use.
it is.
It's a whole topic in itself.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. So what you're saying is, especially to, again, you know, just adding to the tips of how to manifest what you
Yeah,
want,
this is
is
one major tip.
change the way you talk about things. Yeah.
Yeah, the way you
And
talk
like I
about
used to
yourself.
always say, oh,
Your
money is hard.
self-talk is the first tip.
I'm not good at selling, or I'm not good at marketing, or I've never
Yes.
been good at this, I've never been good at that. And
Yeah.
then you really ingrain it even further, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what you do is you break that pattern, isn't it? And helping
I
to,
try to assist to break the patterns where I can. Again, it depends on the individual. Some people it
absolutely.
is easier to do, some people it is harder. Again, I don't like using that word, it's less easy. But it's
Let's say
like,
that it
yeah,
takes
it's
longer.
totally, it is a journey. I think,
Yes.
so the first thing is definitely self-talk, the way you talk about yourself. Then it's how you talk about things in general. The third bit, what I find really interesting, is when I go through that topic and the first section of what do you want, first thing people reel off to me, and I've seen a pattern in this is something where it gets a bit generic, what they don't want. Well, I don't want this, and I don't want this, and I don't want this. And I'm like, hold on a second, I asked you what do you want, not what you don't want. So this is another tip I'd love to give people, that start talking from the angle of what you want. And I'm not saying don't ever talk about what you don't want, but use that as a stepping stone, that if I don't want this, what's the opposite of this? So what does it mean what I want? And then start talking in those terms.
Absolutely. And I think that's really interesting, because you get what you focus on, isn't it? I did that as well a few years ago, and interestingly enough, I did that with someone in the family who was just, and when you become a coach, right, you start realizing that not only like obviously what I think creates my life, but then you start to recognize other people and how they are talking, actually how that creates their circumstances.
Yes.
I used to be pretty bad at pinpointing,
Yeah.
oh, hey, you create your
Yeah, I
environment.
found it really hard. I went on this journey as well myself, absolutely. And I think I started, and I'm going to own this now, I started giving unsolicited advice and coaching to people who weren't asking for it, they weren't looking for it. And I had to create a rule for myself that where people want it and they're asking for it and they're open for it, then give it. People aren't asking for it or they're not ready for it, they're not in that mind space to receive it. So they receive it in a different way, they receive you in a different way, and then you can be jeopardizing all sorts of relationships with, you mean well, and you've got a lot of love and care. You come from a place of love and care mostly, but sometimes it's like trying to meet the person at their space and just honoring where they're at, whether it's you're on the same page as them or not. This whole massive journey I've been on recently around having more love and compassion, no matter where a person's coming from, even if you don't see eye to eye with them, has been a massive game changer.
That's really powerful, because this I'm guilty of that as well, you know, because when you realize, oh, actually, you know, indeed that thing came to me and someone did say, because normally I wasn't told that you can achieve whatever you want, and when you do realize that, you want to tell that to everybody, and not everybody is ready.
What's in my mind, like I'm also a master of metaphors and analogies, and I always use a lot of metaphoric language and examples in my work so people can, like, it sits with them differently in their mind. There's something that come in my head straight away, like intuitively. I thought about a mechanic that learns how to fix things, and then we get, as a coach, we think, I want to fix everybody. We feel like we've got our screwdriver and we're like, that's it, let's do some work. Yeah, let's do some work. It's like a mad person going around wanting to fix everything, and it's like, okay, you know, your washing machine's broken, your microwave needs looking at, I want to look at your TV as well. It's like, chill, you know, maybe that TV's okay.
Oh my goodness. I just very quickly want to share, that's such an interesting example and metaphor, because a few years ago when I did my life coaching thing and I learned all this stuff, and I thought, you know what, all I want to do is empower people. And where is the place that people need more positivity and encouragement than anywhere else in the world? And I thought about the prison. Now, luckily enough, there's a prison not too far from my house, luckily.
But I appreciate the thought pattern that's gone there.
Well, yeah, I mean, not that the whole family are on my side. And then they said, you what? You want to teach in the prison? And I said, you know what? I will try my best, because they did this business startup course and like IT course. And I've taught all kinds of subjects, to be fair. So I just thought, you know what? I'll just go in there. And it was, it took me a while to get in, but I got the job. And it was, I don't really know how to put it into words, but it's an absolute place of desperation. And, you know, I only worked because
you must have had so much growth and insight. Is it the only thing that I can think of if I was in your shoes?
It was just phenomenal, and it changed me massively, because I went there with assumptions, and I'm a bit of a rebel, not in that kind of way, but I'm always challenging authority, and I'm always like, hey, why should we learn this?
I think this is why our hearts resonate with each other, because we are like, yeah, we like rebelling against the natural way of things, because we're like, oh, I call it being a change maker. We want to shake things up and change things for the better.
Absolutely.
You know, just not for the sake of just changing.
We're gonna embrace curiosity. People are curious by nature. And when I was a kid, everybody tells you to be quiet, and I'm a person of 1,000 questions and challenges, and they're like, oh my God, you never stop. And now I realize, no, I don't stop, but I've learned to utilize
and that's a good thing.
Well, and that took a while to understand. And, you know, I did a personality test a few years ago, and I came out as the debater. That says challenges authority, never gets along with, you know, authority. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this is like the story of my life. But learning to use that in business, and also, you know, facilitating debates, conversations, and also challenging leaders, because leaders are very complicated. We're very complicated thinkers. And I love working with leaders, change makers, like also like you, who is just, you know, we're ready to go constantly out of the comfort zone, aren't we? and we push ourselves out of that comfort zone. And I thought, for example, going to the prison is that what I just want to do is if I can motivate someone here, like put myself in this situation and challenge this thinking. You know, people said, oh, I came to this country with nothing, I had no chance but to start selling drugs. I said, hey, I came to this country with 30 grand debt. And I didn't have to start selling drugs, so you don't have to either.
Yeah.
Well, you know, this and that happened, and I said, hey, you know what? And I always had something to say, and they're like, oh, God, you know, she just doesn't give it a rest, does she? But I was, after 2 years in there, I was so saddened by the fact that nothing had changed. I had facilitated a few team building sessions as well, and you know, it got graded 4 in Ofsted. The whole prison got graded, you know, really badly because the practices were so bad. I received 0 training in teaching in there. There was no security. I pressed the panic button a couple of times and no one came. It was an absolutely terrible place to work.
Wow.
So no support, but all I was focusing on is what change can I create with this person? And literally people at any level, and you just sit with them, and there is just love, no judgment. And a couple of times I would ask someone, you know, how are you? You know, oh, just give me the effing worksheets, you know, just give me that. I don't want to talk. I said, hey, what's going on? Like, how are you? And so often they would start crying because they said, you know, no one's asked me that question for the last 10 years. And imagine
asking from a genuine space. And really, some people could ask for the sake of asking, because just
and not listen. And that's really, you know, and you are, you know, you're really committed to your purpose. And, you know, I've seen the journey you've taken and the successes that you've helped other people create. And it's you're constantly evolving and wanting to learn more, to make sure that people do achieve those. And sometimes it's not even the objectives that they set out at the start. It changes because
it changes. Yeah, absolutely, it does.
And probably, I'm sure you've heard.
And this is where the interesting thing is, because I think the biggest thing that people come to me, I'll give you an example. So there might be a girl who is looking for soulmate manifestation. I really want to find the love of my life. Okay, that's all well and good, and that's great. So why do you want to find the love of your life? I'm getting on in my age. I'd like to get married. I'd like to have my family. Okay, so why do you want to get married? It's just the done thing. I'm supposed to get married like my parents expect me. So is it you that wants to get married, or is it your family who wants you to get married? And then it's almost like they're getting this like, do I actually want to get married or not? And it's like, is it your want, or are you just going by this want of what you fitting into society and community and these beliefs that we've been brought up with that end up becoming our beliefs, and we want it for ourselves? But if things were different, if that was never there, is that what you would still want? Like, what do you really want? So next thing you know, it's like, oh, actually, I don't care if I get married or not. I just want to have a loving, you know, commitment in my relationship, or I want somebody I can travel with and explore the world with. And it's like, that sounds like more, you know, let's go down that route. And if it turns into marriage, great. But don't just put your blinkers on the minute you date somebody, I want to marry you. It's like, you wonder why people are being repelled from your energy.
Well, absolutely. And that other person is almost like a solution, whereas actually, you know, you are the solution. That solution comes from within. And that's so powerful, because isn't it, and I'm sure you've come across this many times with your clients over the years, is that they have the marriage and the kids and the house and the car and the money,
and that's it, and they're still not satisfied or happy, or there's something still missing.
And it's that spiritual
because marriage
side,
isn't the answer. And it's like, don't think you're going to get married on this fairy tale, because as a married woman myself, it still comes with a lot of stuff. Life still is happening, and you know. So,
you know, on that note, you know, in terms of you know, the something's missing, I mean, this is a big question, and oh my goodness, if you can answer this, is probably a Nobel Prize answer. But you know, if you know, isn't it the spiritual side of people, the connection with themselves a little bit, that can be missing a little bit? What would you say about people being spiritual? And
I think that's really interesting, and I love talking about. We'll be here for another hour if you start talking about spirituality.
Please share at least something, because I totally
definitely feel like majority of people I've worked with, and again, I can only go by the people I work with. It's not a generalization of the population as a whole, but my reflection of people I've worked with, whether that's been in corporate or my one-on-one stuff, is definitely there is that little missing piece of spirituality, of that whole sense of what does it even mean. You know, with one person I was telling them, you know, I do work around manifestation. I've got somebody who works around meditation. Why don't you take a meditation session? She's like, what's the difference between meditation and manifestation, and what is meditation? And I was just like, interesting question. Like, why am I sitting here assuming that people know this stuff? And a lot of people don't know about it. I myself am still learning about it. So I was like, that's really insightful. And yeah, so I think there is this bit that's missing from people. Having said that, I think there's spiritual people out there who might still feel like something's missing, and they keep going on this spiritual journey. Like we talk about, I mean, we sometimes joke about, oh, I just want to escape to the mountains and be a monk, and I wish I could get away from everything. But I don't know, I don't know why his name's escaped me, but you know, the person who's created Headspace, the app, and he's wrote some books as well. Oh shoot, I don't know why I don't remember his name off the top of my head, but he, in his story, I was reading his book, and he was talking about how he actually did go to like India and all these different parts of the, you know, Eastern culture, and became a monk, studied to be a monk. And then his story starts off with he was running away from a monastery. Because even there, it wasn't like full, everything that he wanted in life wasn't there. It was about bringing that spiritual practice into the physical world, and people using spirituality in their day-to-day lives, which is something that I'd like to facilitate people to balance it. Like, you can't be all fully spiritual and then not have anything else. There'll be other things that are missing in your life with regards to relationships and people connection. There's people out there, like they say, people just want money. Some people are sitting in their big mansions, empty houses, no relationships, feeling lost, feeling broke, and they still have a fear mindset about losing what they've created. So they've still got something there that's missing. So I think it's about balancing all the areas of your life as much as possible, but understanding that every single part's not going to be fully perfect. And yeah, it's about, yeah, it's just assessing what is my priorities, where are my biggest gaps, and then how to kind of balance those things out is what I'd probably say to that.
Absolutely, because just being fully spiritual but not having the other aspects in life, it wouldn't work. So having different areas, and people need money, you know.
And I think it's T. Harv Eker, I believe it is, who went on that journey of making his millions and felt like I'm still unfulfilled, then went to be this spiritual monk, and then he was still a bit unfulfilled, and then he realized being spiritual doesn't mean I have to be broke, and being rich doesn't mean I can't be spiritual, and he realized you can have both. And I guess it's that angle.
Absolutely. Well, 100%. And just then on that note, and obviously being spiritual, something that I think has taken a little bit of people's connection, because we're always busy, always filling our time, always with the screen, you know,
Yes.
always constantly on the phone, on the laptop. And especially in the times lately, you know, a lot of people are now working from home. Life has changed a lot. And, you know, it's becoming more and more screen focused. Literally, even I recognize sometimes myself, I've got 2 phones, 2 laptops, and a TV on. I mean, what world are we living in? So I noticed a few days ago you mentioned that you know, taking a break off the phone would be a good thing to do. Can you talk about that briefly? Because I think everybody would benefit from that, me included.
Definitely. And I'm gonna share my honest experience with this. So through some meditation work and coaching that I'm going through at the moment, again, to build my skills, learn more, help others more, all of that, a suggestion was made about, do you have a day in the week where you just detox from all the devices, like they call it device detox? I was like, I don't. I go, there's gaps in my day. Like, I could go a whole evening without checking my messages and say to people, look, if I'm not available, you're gonna have to wait till I'm available. I'll get back to you the next day. But do I totally be device free? And I was just like, if I'm not on my laptop, I'm on my phone. If I'm not on my phone, I'm watching TV. If I'm not doing one or the other, I'm doing something. And in the little pockets of time, I'm doing non-device related things. And I found it really interesting. I thought, let's give this challenge a go and see how it works. So in the morning I woke up and I was just like, the first thing in my head, nothing else was in my head about, I need to use my phone for this. All these things I need to use my phone for. So the biggest challenge then, actually, let's just not take it to the bathroom like I always do, even if it means I'm listening to something positive whilst I'm brushing my teeth. But I thought, okay, leave my phone here, don't touch it. And then I thought, okay, I'm going to do some journaling. I never get around to doing my journaling. Surprise, surprise, why? Because I'd rather be on my phone or something. So I thought, let's do some journaling. And as I was journaling, I created a list, and I thought, okay, what do I need my phone for really, or my laptop? And what can I do what I don't need to use my phone for? So I found some things where I felt like they overlapped, where I was like, well, I could cook, but I'd like to have music on in the background, and I'd put music on my phone. Oh, well, I could do some cleaning, but I like to have music on in the background. Or if I want to cook something nice today, I want to go and check a recipe on YouTube first. So some of them were a bit interlinked as well. So I just wrote all these things down. I just thought, okay, what are the main things I really need to do, which I need to use my phone for? So I actually made an allowance for myself, and I actually gave myself half an hour pockets of time, that half an hour in the afternoon, do this, this, this. Half an hour a bit later on in the day, and then half an hour in the night, you can check your messages. Not a word of a lie, I didn't actually check my phone the whole day. And I feel like it's because I gave myself the allowance that I can, if I need to, help the process. And I actually, by the end of the day, I felt so refreshed. I was so much more productive. I realized being on my phone so much was keeping me away from doing things that are more important, like meditating, reflecting work, journaling work, reading. And I was like, actually, so much I'm actually stopping myself from doing by constantly feeling the need to fill my day with phone use. And the other interesting thing was, the day before I did the detox, I had my phone glued to my hand the whole day. Almost like I need to make up for having the phone with me today, because I'm not going to have you with me tomorrow. I'm not going to have you with me. And it was like, actually, at the end of the next day, I joked with my husband and I said, I could throw my phone away right now. I feel so peaceful and blissed to be disconnected from the world and had a chance to reconnect with myself.
Oh God, that, seriously, this is so important. I mean, some people might say, oh, yeah, I'll do that. We don't do that.
We
That
all
is
feel like we
so
can't survive without it.
yeah. And
But
social
somebody that I was
media has
speaking to
taken
recently as
over a
well,
lot of people's lives. Social media, the recognition, you know, the whole social media community,
yep,
attached to what's happening in there. And all of a sudden, you know, you just check something and 2 hours later, you're still checking your timeline and doing things and just looking at what other people are doing.
yeah.
Such a
I mean, don't get me
terrible
wrong,
waste
it
of
is
time.
awesome. I love the
Oh, yeah,
online world, I love the digital world. And it's all
absolutely.
about the balance though. Like, come on, if 6 days of your week you are constantly on these devices, if you take one day out, why are we feeling like, oh my God, I can't do that? You never sit there saying, oh my God, how can I spend a whole day on my device?
Especially because 15 years ago, we didn't have any of this.
I was about to say, another gentleman I've been speaking to, he's in his 60s, and he's like, well, a lot of my life I spent not using devices for stuff. So we managed to survive then. And it's like, it's true.
Absolutely.
And the other thing that's quite interesting, so yesterday when I was going on lunch with my husband and I had my phone, I was just checking a message, and he's like, you're with me right now. You're like, you shouldn't be on your phone. I was like, yeah, okay, true. Put my phone to one side. Be present with another person. We have this thing a lot. We're like, when you're with family, be present with them. When you're on a date, be present. Don't be on your phone. It's rude. How many of us are present with ourselves? When we're on our own, most of us are on our phones. We don't know how to be present with our own selves, and we talk about being present with others. So this is another tip: be present with yourself.
Absolutely. And don't constantly fill your mind with something. Actually having that silence. Is it silence in your mind? And
Sometimes where a lot of the anxieties come from is this overconsumption of information, because we've got it so readily available at our fingertips. Again, people like you and me are guilty of this. We want to learn. We want to learn more. We want to learn more. There's so much to learn. We're never going to learn everything. So it's like, take a break from it. Because the other thing about procrastination sometimes is there's this thing called cognitive overload. So when there's so many options out there and so many things that we can be doing, we shut down as human beings. It's a human psychology thing. It's not anything to take personally. We all do guilty of this, and we don't need to feel guilt for it. But just realize, reduce the options, and by reducing options and by limiting your time on the phone and on these social media apps and stuff, you will start actually realizing you're giving your mind space to do more and think about other things in your life.
I love that. And actually, just on that note, and just a few minutes before we finish, and it's, oh my God, we could go on forever. I just love
Absolutely.
everything and the strategies that you're sharing, and tools so powerful to really start finding balance. But you mentioned there, especially feeling that overwhelming social media in the digital world right now, because as a business consultant, and we help people start and build their businesses. You obviously helping people to, you know, manifest their desires in all ways of life. But at the end of the day, a lot of people get so consumed by all of this, and they think, especially in business, that they have to be everywhere at all times. And actually that is like totally the opposite of what they should be doing. And really that overwhelm. And I certainly had that, you know, oh, you're not on this platform, why not? And then you're working on that for months.
I
And
felt it as well. Yeah.
So just on that note, you know, and especially for someone who is building their business, you know, really, you know, going after their dreams and wanting to, you know, help more people through their business, you know, it can be a challenging journey. And you and me, we're on the journey, and we will forever be on that journey. But if you could share a couple of tips or strategies, maybe 3 tips that would really be useful for someone starting and building their business. You know, what maybe a learning curve that, you know, that could really help someone to fast track their journey right now,
Yeah.
that they don't have to spend that time in procrastinating and self-sabotage. Any ideas are welcome.
Yeah. So the one that's come in my mind straight away is around the social media. So we've been there, like you just said, I've been there as well, and there's so many options out there, and you think, oh, there's Facebook, there's Instagram, there's Twitter, there's now TikTok, there's LinkedIn, there's Snapchat, there's this, and you just are thinking, I need to be on everything, I need to have a tag for everything, I need to, you know, we go through this phase where we feel like we need to be present on all the platforms because we might miss an audience. And the fact of the matter is that is a classic strategy for self-sabotage, because not only is it scattering your energy and your mindset, but the truth is we don't resonate with every single platform. What I'd say is, you know yourself by now which platforms you go on the most. Choose 1 or 2 to start with. You can always grow it once you nail one platform. Maybe start with 1, if you can, maybe 2. So it could be that it's LinkedIn and Facebook. It could be that it's Facebook and Instagram. But just hone in your skill set for that particular platform. And then with time you can start, you can outsource it, you can learn it later on. Like when your first ones become second nature, then it's not that stressful. But trying to learn 5 different social media platforms in one go can be overwhelming, and you're creating overwhelm for yourself. So start small, start with 1 or 2 and build on it. The other learning curve I've had personally for myself has been, there's a lot of people around you that aren't on your journey. They don't share your vision. There's a reason they don't have your vision. You have your vision. Keep in tune with your vision. People will cloud your judgment and cloud what you want. And they speak again from their model of the world. So have love and compassion of where they're coming from. They're not trying to sabotage you. Particularly you get it with the parent-child relationships. Parents will want something for you. They've lived a life a certain way. They're expecting you to live it a certain way. You're like, I'm not here to live your life, is a classic line. But they just want the best for you. They're usually protecting you. And so take it with a pinch of salt, and don't feel like, oh my God, somebody said this to me, so I can't do this now, or I shouldn't do it, but I need to kind of please others. So the people pleasing, remove that. If you please yourself, others will automatically be pleased because you'll do a better job. And
you'll be happy and smiling instead of grumpy.
Happy and smiling, absolutely. And then I guess this sounds like a cliche tip to give people, but just don't quit. Going gets tough. That's the point. That's the process. That's part of the journey. Embrace it. And the weirdest thing I've made people do, and I want people to start doing this now who are listening to this, when a challenge comes your way, or a challenging person or a circumstance, give it gratitude and thank it, because you're learning something from it, you're growing from it. So you're either going to do something and you win and you do succeed, or you fail and we beat ourselves up over failure. But it's like, actually, it's not failure, it's part of the process. How many times do we hear that success is made up by many failures? So say, yes, this is one part of the chain of my success. This is going to be reflective for me. This is part of my journey, my story, and this is something I can share or reflect on with other people one day. Because what I've really learned in the work I'm doing now is I'm more empathetic to people now. When I wore that shirt, I've been in those shoes, I get it. And it's like, if I hadn't done that and I hadn't had those hits and those failures, how can I resonate with somebody and help them? Because I just wouldn't have a clue. So embrace all of it, the good, the bad and the ugly, embrace it all.
Oh my God, I love that. I love that. That's amazing. And I mean, how you have helped people to transform their life. And this is the key thing, is just changing the way you perceive yourself, isn't it? And changing, you know, the tips that you've given are very powerful, but at the same time, very simple. And so often we forget to do those things. And what you said
because
there about
they're so
judgment.
simple, they're easy not to do, because they're easy to do and they're easy not to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And, you know, that about clouding your judgment and, you know, being that people pleaser, I think it's really tough for a lot of entrepreneurs, because it's a lonely road. And a lot of the time entrepreneurs, you know, there's this really independent person who wants to do their own way, go their own way. But at the same time, you know, there's all these people that they actually do need to please. So in order to create a successful business, they need to please people. But first, they have to be in alignment with themselves.
And once you're so authentic and so you come from a genuine, sincere place, people receive that better, rather than you trying to, you know, fit in and trying to make them fit into your agenda or whatever. It's like, just try and let a lot of that stuff go. We're carrying this unseen baggage around, like on our shoulders, and it's like, drop that baggage, stop having these expectations, just breathe a bit. And this is where the whole meditation mindset stuff and mindfulness is important, because we don't do that self-checking and regular reflection with ourselves. We forget that we need to let these things go because they're not as important as we're making them in our minds.
Right. That, I mean, that is just amazing, because that's exactly what it's about. So often, and me included, and you included before, you know, we're like, give me more, give me more. Actually, it's not about more, it's letting go. Let go of the resistance that is currently holding you back. And those,
Yes,
it could
massively.
be a word of, you know, when I was studying to become a speaker, and, you know, and I've often been criticized for being such a, you know, never, you know, such a restless speaker, just carry on, carry on. So you turning your weakness into your strength, and or it's a perceived weakness, and it can be a weakness in certain environments. It's
Yeah.
about what to say sometimes,
Yes.
and this is a big learning curve for me, what not to say.
What not to say.
So, but
Yeah.
it's that actually your weakness could become your strength, and vice versa too. So we have to really become aware and align with those true skills and talents. And you know what you've done over the last you know, decade and more, built this skill set. It's all making sense right now. And you know, all of those tools and skills and understanding the failures is helping you to now help other people. And that's exactly what entrepreneurs need to see and remind themselves about every single day. Leaders to say, you know what, I'm here for a bigger mission, vision, and not everybody's going to understand it, like you said, but I will not quit, because it's a higher purpose of creating that positive difference in the world.
And on the note of effective manifestation, to just like close, big massive part is removing this resistance. We create our own resistance. We really want something, we have this desperate energy for it, we really want this, and we like go for it. And again, it's a mixture of things we've learned, we watch other people do it, other successful people are telling us to do this, so we're like, oh, we need to be working endlessly, tirelessly, I'm supposed to be working through the hours of the night. Actually, you need to be giving yourself, work hard and play hard, give yourself time, chill out, rest, but don't rest too much where you're not doing any work, but don't work so hard that you burn out. So it's like, so much of what we do, we send out this resistive energy, and then we don't see results, and we're wondering why. And it's actually just let that resistance go. Allows that space for it to flood to you, almost like you're allowing that attraction and that law of attraction to work. And you're like, okay, I'm going to let this thing come to me, rather than pushing myself out there to reach out for it. Because imagine if you're reaching out to it and it's going away from you, lean back a bit and it'll probably come towards you. So it's the push and pull energy.
It's almost like if you're desperate and chasing after something, it's like a relationship. I'm so desperate for it, it will never come.
It's a neediness that people just feel the vibe, and they're like, oh, this person's really clingy and needy. Pull off, and then you're like, why doesn't nobody want me? But do you want yourself?
Well, I even the little thing that I used to say, I'm like, I will do whatever it takes. And although, okay, that can be a good attitude, but actually, again, that's a resistive energy, because it's like, it's a sacrifice. I have to work bloody hard. And actually, I had to let go of all of that unnecessary, you know, this kind of building up that energy word. And we will finish up literally in a couple of minutes, but that word is the key to everything, isn't it? It's how you use your energy. And when I meditated,
energy management is a key one that I've come across recently, and I thought that's a really great way to look at it, because it's about managing it.
Yes, well, absolutely. And meditation, I tried many years without any success, you know, listening to some YouTube things, until I really met an amazing teacher who that first meditation session literally just listened to, you know, on a Zoom. And I could feel the energy field around me. I was shaking. It was a really weird experience, but I had never felt that before. And I literally felt the energy field. And that was a really powerful experience. And I just wanted to add that here, because really I didn't used to understand meditation and energies. What energy? Come on.
Most people watching this are probably in that space.
Yeah.
And that's okay to be in that space. But it's about that curiosity that you mentioned. Be curious about it, learn about it, find people who are doing it and what works for them. And also remember, what's working for somebody else might not work for you. So it is a journey about trying to do the different things. And I guess what we're talking about, the social media for the entrepreneurs, see what works for you. There's when you start thinking to yourself, where might my audience be, my clients, you will start having a bit of a different strategy. But just experiment with it and have fun with it. I think the fun that we take out of, we suck our own fun out of life sometimes. Have fun, because that fun energy really supports manifestation a lot.
Oh, I love that. Fun is a state of mind, isn't it?
Yes.
And we have to make that conscious decision to enjoy it. And I love what you said, and just to finish that off is that embrace the challenge and acknowledge that something bad happened, and actually, wow, this is part of my success story in a few months time, or even in a few years time.
I remember being once upon a time, I was like rolling up my sleeves, okay, bring it at me, whatever most rubbish things that can happen in my life happen, because this is going to be my story. I'm going to have such a big nice novel to write at the end of it.
Well, I'll tell you very quickly, 15-second story. I invested a big 5 figures in a business franchise. 2 years, 3 years, worked hard at it, and overnight it was gone. And that was a really pretty terrible experience, to be honest. But on the day when I was literally, oh my God, I have to get a job and I have to do all these crazy things. I don't want a job. What am I going to do? But just get it for a couple of months, and all these crazy thoughts going on in your head. But actually, you know what, I realized that I was out of control, and you know, recognizing, okay, you know, stop panicking, everything is fine, you're fine, it had nothing to do with you, it was somebody else's company anyway. But understanding that, actually, you know what, I thought about it, and I remembered that I remember a lot of people telling me they lost hundreds of thousands, some people even millions in their business. So my kind of 30 grand what didn't feel so much at the time. And then I thought, you know what, I will use this later on as a story, because, you know, I did all of this, but still I'm doing it anyway. I'm going to carry on.
And now when you meet people who have lost money in business, you feel that, and you have that empathy, and you know where it is, and you connect better with people.
And now
if you hadn't done that,
the question is always, what now? What are we going to do now? And stop dwelling in the past, and just like you do.
Yeah, we can't live in the past. This is a big, massive thing where people end up falling in this trap, and it's like, definitely reflect on it, but don't stay in that space. And I also talk about this thing called pity party, and I always say acknowledge things when you're not even feeling good. It's not about always being positive and always being happy. When you're feeling a bit crummy, acknowledge it, connect with yourself, recognize it, resolve it, and let it go, and then you can crack on with your day and be more productive. So
I love that. I mean, we will definitely do many more of these, because I feel like there is just many more hours and even days.
Absolutely. There is.
Just to finish off then, if someone wanted to get started, you know, have a look at some of, you know, your coaching. You've got a few videos, I know that. Definitely there's quite a lot of different videos to watch. Do you have any, if someone wanted to get in touch or start one of your coaching, what should they do?
So the best thing to do is get in touch with me, and I am on social media platforms, so you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm also on Instagram as the .manifestation.maven, as well as on Facebook. So whichever platform you're using, you should be able to connect with me. Drop me a message that you're interested to learn more. The very first thing I do is a discovery call. In that short call, I just establish, what is it you're looking for? What do you need? Am I actually the right fit for what you're looking for? And I just assess if I can support you and help you. And if we find that we can work together and there's a solution there, then we'll work it from there and book something in and start doing the one-on-one work. There is also some self-study videos and online courses available, online resources. So again, you can always follow my online channels and streams for that, and find connections through that, or drop me a line and I can send you the links as well.
Excellent. And we'll add the link somewhere next to the video as well. Thank you so much, Suman. You are such an inspiration, and please carry on doing everything that you're doing, because the world needs true, inspirational, committed, honest, transparent leaders like you. And, you know, it's just amazing to see all the changes and positive transformation that you're helping people to create in their lives. And not even directly, but just through your positive encouragement all over social media. You know, every time I see your post, there's always something positive, and you're just really leading by example in sometimes.
I think that's a big thing that came across in my mind, and I'm glad it's coming across.
It totally is. You live and breathe what you are, and it shows that you are truly aligned with your purpose. And you know, that's the kind of coach that is the best kind of coach and person to help anyone, because and you're still on that journey. And that's the thing, is that you're always evolving and learning and adding to your tool and skill set, like you said. And I just love that, and it really just shows your commitment and expertise. So thank you so much for joining today and sharing all these inspirational
Very
tools.
welcome. Thank you for having me.
Session for sure. Thank you. Bye.
Take care. Bye.